Hi, welcome to our latest bonus chat. This is from our pod recording looking back over Leinster v Bath. If you missed it, you'll find it on Apple, Spotify, and all the other usual places. Last week, we looked at all the permutations for the last 16 ahead of the final round of pool matches, but now that all the seedings and pairings have been decided, it's time to have a look ahead at the road to the finals in Cardiff for both competitions. Starting with yourself, David, maybe you take a look at the Leinster path first and then the other top challengers.
Yeah, the path has been laid out, and it's hard to argue that we haven't got a pretty nice path ahead of us. I'm looking now at the overall map, and there's always a lot of talk that there are pools of death. If there's pools of death, then the other side of the brackets of the playoff brackets is definitely the side of death. Given on the other side, you've got Bordeaux, La Rochelle, Toulon, Saracens, Toulouse, all stacked up, one on top of the other. So the fact that we don't have to face any of those teams at least until the final is a massive boon. Right now, Leinster are looking at facing Harlequins at home. That'll be the weekend of the 4th, 5th, and 6th of April. And that'll be a big game. Harlequins, they're a good team. They like to score. Marcus Smith, obviously, the 10 over there. They can be a high scoring team. They can be a flashy team. I think it's a team that Leinster, particularly with the defence that we deploy, can definitely shut down. If we get past them, we'll face the winners of Glasgow v Leicester. I think that's in Glasgow. It'll be interesting to see how they go. It's not always been really Glasgow's thing to go super far in the European competition, but that's definitely a game that is within their gifts to go over. So it'd be interesting to face another URC team that early at quarterfinal level, and probably the URC team that's one of our biggest challengers, and someone we won't face ourselves until the very final round of the URC. So that'll be interesting. Leicester would be a more familiar opposition. I think we've played them a handful of times over the last few years. And if we get beyond that, the other two brackets on our side are Northampton and Claremont, and Cast against Benetton. Benetton had a very good win this weekend over La Rochelle. Now, it was in Stadio di Meningo, whereas this will be over in Cast, and Cast tend to perform better at home in France, but it'd be lovely to see Benetton get to a quarterfinal. That'd be really fantastic for an Italian team who keep threatening to break loose and break forward, and seem like maybe this year, maybe they could do a little bit more. So you'd expect Cast to probably win that, but it'd be great to see Benetton get a step further. Northampton and Claremont. Claremont gave us a lot of trouble. It's easy to forget, but they were one of the teams that we dropped the try bonus point against. They could give Northampton the same level of issue, but given that is in Northampton and how far Northampton got last year and how much trouble they gave us in the semi-final last year, very close to ruining our day in Croke Park. You'd have to favour Northampton for that one. So I think out of the four of them, if we make it as far as the semi-final, we could well see ourselves facing Northampton there again. And on the other side of the pool, like I said, there's a lot of teams over there, a lot of very good teams stacked up over there. They'll battle back and forth. La Rochelle v Munster, it's going to be a huge one, particularly for the Rog fans in the Southern Province. Toulon and Saracens for the battle of the Moneybags. Bordeaux, and then at the top and the bottom you have Bordeaux facing off again against Ulster and Toulouse against Sale, which seems quite unfair on both Sale and Ulster, but this is how these things fall. As good as the pedigree is on that side of the table, it's really hard to see beyond Toulouse. So I have a feeling whoever comes out of our side is going to have Toulouse waiting for them in Cardiff. So an easy enough, it could end up being, and you don't want to put the cart before the horse, it could end up being an easy enough walk for Leinster from here to the final, particularly with home field advantage. But when they get there, they're going to have a hell of a fight in their hands with more than likely Toulouse for the second time in a row. On the other side, I think it was just Munster, was it, that they're facing off against as I said, La Rochelle. That'll be a huge game. It'll be very interesting. It's over in La Rochelle. Obviously, Munster 2 wins from 4 weren't able to get the home field advantage. They'll probably feel they left a little bit there in Northampton when they fell just 2 points short. But yeah, that'll be a big game. They'll talk themselves down. That's in their nature to do that. But given that La Rochelle just went down to Benetton, La Rochelle are a team in transition at the moment. I think it'll probably depend on what's going on in the top 14, depending on what kind of team La Rochelle feel they can send out in it. Unfortunately, if they do get past La Rochelle and get as far as a quarterfinal, it's more than likely going to be an absolutely bristling Bordeaux waiting for them. And if Bordeaux are finished picking Ulster out of their teeth, that could be a sore day for Munster.
Yeah, Bordeaux seems very, very, very keen to break into that kind of triumvirate that's been going on in Europe for the past few years. Now, Rich is going to have a look at weigh in on Leinster's side of the draw as well, and then maybe take a closer look at Ulster and then Connacht's road to Cardiff.
Yeah, it's I think I said earlier on the group chat. Yeah, if we play to our potential, I don't fear any of those teams. But that's a big caveat. If we play to our potential, we don't always do that. So I think that we can. I'm not saying easily, but I think we can quite reasonably be expected to get to the final. Similarly, looking at the other side of the draw, I really see all four French teams in the semi-finals. Looking at it, and that will be an interesting one. And yeah, it's got to be between Toulouse and Bordeaux to get to the final. I didn't see any of the others being at that level, to be perfectly honest. I mean, Toulouse put 80 points over Leicester today. They didn't have to, but they did because they do. So yeah, I think I think we're looking at that, and unless we come unstuck, and of course it can happen. It nearly did last year, as Dave just pointed out, against Saints at home, because we took the foot off the gas, which is why I put the caveat on about us turning up. Then I really do see us getting to the final again this year. Let's hope we don't lose another bloody final. But if we're playing at Toulouse, we have to be really, 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 really at the top of our game to be able to beat Toulouse. At the moment, they're the team to beat. At the moment, I don't see very far away from them getting another star on their jersey, and I think that the only other teams who can prevent them from doing that, one of them they'll probably meet on their own side of the knockout stages, and the other one is us. I don't see any other team being able to prevent them at this stage. They're just that good a team, and hats off to them. They really are. They're incredibly entertaining side to watch as well. So no complaints in that regard. Ulster. It's gonna be it's gonna be difficult. I really don't see them getting other than a hammering from Bordeaux, especially in Bordeaux. The La Rochelle Munster match will be an absolute peach, not least because of the proxy nature that this the fixture between La Rochelle and us seems to inspire down in Munster. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one as to how that turns out. I can't see beyond the La Rochelle win, to be perfectly honest, especially if they have all their big guns in play. And similarly for the other matches, Toulon, yeah, and Toulouse obviously should beat Sale. So, like I say, I think all French sides will meet each other in the semis, and so guarantee the French side in the final, of course. Yeah, for once, and I'm not complaining. People may say, "Oh, you got an easier side to the draw." Yes, but on how many occasions have we had an absolute bitch of a draw, and pools of death and what have you? So you can only play what what the fates give you, and on this occasion we seem to have been given an easier passage through to the final. Doesn't mean we'll get there, but at least it's easier.
Yeah, I mean, just the way it's the way it turned out. I mean, with that pool one where Bordeaux and Toulouse were in the same pool, but they couldn't play each other. So
Yeah.
which it was always meant that even if they won all their matches, one of them was going to be seeded, was going to finish second, which means they couldn't be seeded higher than fifth, and that's what led to this situation. It means that you still fancy Toulouse maybe to reach the final, but they've got to do 2 away. I think is it 2? They'd have to probably win 2 away matches, maybe in Toulon and Bordeaux to get there. So that kind of gives them something of a challenge. And as for Ulster, I'm almost wondering, they were kind of set with when they beat Exeter convincingly on Friday night. I think they figured their future was in the Challenge Cup. I think they would have ended up at Perpignan. I think the way it turned out, I'm not sure if that directly translates. They ended up Racing ended up in there instead because they lost heavily. But I think they might have fancied their route better if they ended up in the Challenge Cup. But they end up playing Bordeaux, which it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. They've already had to play them. They've already had to play Toulouse. It's definitely not easy for them.
Yeah, I think they would have had a decent run in the Challenge Cup, to be honest, and that would have been better for them.
Yeah,
because they lose to Bordeaux. They're not at that level. Whereas they would have had a decent enough run in the Challenge Cup, which would have extended their season a bit longer, and would have done them the world of good. But hey, it's it's weird because dropping down into the Challenge Cup is a demotion, if you want. Yet it would have been the best thing for Ulster. Yeah. But,
absolutely. And speaking of the Challenge Cup, I mean, Connacht did really well to get themselves top seed. They now play Cardiff, and then their path is like if they do get through that, it's going to be all home matches if they keep winning. I think they'll play Perpignan or Racing at home again in the second round. And like we say, it depends on how they're going in the top 14. But if Perpignan and Racing need points better, they won't send a good team to Connacht, so that could put them in the semi-final where they've got Osprey, Sharks, Leon, or Scarlets. One of them could get in the semi-final. Again, it'll be home advantage, so it's well set up for them. That's a good path for them to do well. It'd be great to see a province doing well in the Challenge Cup. And so it definitely was good for them for sure. So we do wish all the other provinces all the best. That La Rochelle Munster game, though, it's a classic. It's promising.
It is.
The build up will start now, and we'll just continue on a daily basis until
it will.
There's talk as well that if Connacht do get past the round of 16 and they find themselves in the quarterfinal, obviously the sports ground's not the biggest ground at the best time, and half of it's out of commission at the moment because it's being redeveloped. So if they get as far as the quarterfinals, I think from then on, quarterfinals and semi-finals for those weekends, McHale Park will be free as well. So there's the possibility they could go back there after the phenomenal success of the Munster game, which is already sold out there.
I was about to say, they're already playing Munster there. So it'd be great to see them get a couple of good pages.
They could play those games in front of 10 to 15,000 people. That'd be class, I think, for them.
Absolutely.